Today's chat is brought to you by, well, all of your support. Through the patronage you provide the Focus Fire chat team through Podbean's crowdfunding, we are able to provide you with the weekly podcast as well as the website and other aspects of Focus Fire chat. If you have any interest in becoming a patron of the FFC, please be sure to visit our website and click on the support link. Even a single dollar helps, and for those of you who are already patrons, thank you again for your generosity.
Welcome to Focus Fire Chat. Explore together.
Welcome to Focus Fire Chat, recorded live on April 3rd, 2020 over on twitch.tv/FocusFireChat as we continue our discussion over game world creation with a special focus on populating those worlds. This particular episode will serve as what we have come to call the advanced session of the week's exploration, so congratulations to those who signed up for a deeper dive. Before we go any further, however, let's run through a quick introduction of who all we have with us on the show. As always, this is your host, Blue Crew 86.
And this is the currently playing Xbox, and this controller feels weird now. Green-eyed music lover.
And last but definitely not least, in the hot seat as guest co-host, we have our good friend SirenaBesos. I promise I can say that. Serena,
okay.
Serena, how are you doing?
Good. Hi, my name's Morgan, or SirenaBesos. Yeah, I'm excited to do this 201 now. We got all the...
Right?
Yeah.
We did all the intro stuff and the basic questions, and now I am ready to learn. I am ready to learn beyond just more.
Well, and I mean, just to I guess just dive in too. You know, we kind of mentioned we were going to talk about tips and tricks for creating what different styles. You know, I've always kind of personally seen the different styles as the quest givers or the primary NPCs, and then backfill characters. I don't know, would that be how you see it as well, Serena, or do you have a different categorization of NPCs when you're looking at building them?
So it really depends once more on the type of game that I'm running and playing. As, for example, this types of have for a Powered by Apocalypse game versus a D&D game are not quite the same.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you would have primary NPCs that you go to, the main shop owners that you want, the magic shop owners that you want them to talk to, the barkeep, maybe ahead of the guard. You know, you have various pinpoints, and then you just have, background actors in a way, just filling the space to breathe somehow, and you have to put life into it. So having various people walk through the market, or having of merchants hawking their wares throughout the town. They're just merchants, but they're not the odd bits and bobbles at the end that has the things that really catch your eye.
Mm-hmm. Josh is in chat, and he would like us to answer the question: what level of NPC is attention, good people of the city?
Attention, good people of the city. Well, hi, Josh. Good people. I think attention, good people of the city. You have to say it like that. You have to say it very it would be just someone the leader of the town, the mayor or the marquis, or
could you have a town crier?
The town crier. Oh yeah, town criers are definitely good too, especially if you want to pass out lore information in general. Criers basically spread rumors, tell about worldly things that are happening, a fire down at the barn, or on the brink of happening, or various things like that. And they might not have much past that point of information. The players themselves can take that information and be all right, do we want to do something with this? Do we just want to shake down the kid for the that he has, or do we just want to ignore that altogether?
So, okay. Do you have a culture in mind when you're creating these characters too? Besides the town crier and just the general roles, do you have a set of culture or quirks that you try to add into your different ones to give them flavor?
Yeah, I mean, it really depends what sort of, I guess, genre I'm going with at that time. a lot of people go with the Eurocentric sort of style of like Lord of the Rings sort of esque, like sort of
that high fantasy.
But I've actually played a couple games that are very decolonized D&Ds. So I played in one that was very India, Bangladesh sort of inspired game from India, and it was so cool. Made like a playlist and like various like gave us like a Pinterest boards of various like areas and like how they dressed and all that, and it having an idea of like, okay, what kind of culture do I want to breathe into? And of course I want to breathe something of my own cultures or something that is of the popularity. Like for me, I'd either go with Mexican Urbano sort of situations, or I would go with medieval white, because as much as I like Japanese culture, that is not my wheelhouse, and I do not want to touch it because I don't want to act like I'm doing
somebody.
Just show it in the wrong light and allow offenses to happen. I'll stick to I made for season 3. I decided to go with I don't know if you guys heard of Sky Islands, which is basically out in the Chihuahua and Dells Desert, where they have these mesas that shoot up to the sky that had the various different biomes within them. Top would be like a deep, rich forest, but once you get to the bottom where the ground level's out, it's completely dry desert.
Oh, really?
I think it's the Chihuahua National Park, I believe, that has that. And so I actually designed my region of the world that we played together, where like the cities themselves were kind of close together. However, due to the fact that they had to go down the side of the mountain and then go around and down through the valley and then back up. Going across would be like an hour, but with all that, it would take about 5 to 6 hours to travel. So it was definitely a difference in like geography just in general. And I did try to play off of using pueblas or like building into the mountain sort of styles with that culture. But, I just various things like that.
Nice. I'm trying to Blue, when you're trying to design your campaigns and stuff like that, you're not doing a heavy focus on culture or anything like that, are you?
I default. I mean, like, I'm definitely guilty of defaulting to the medieval, like European medieval, but that's like what, kind of what was being said. That's because I know quite a bit about that culture. So I'm comfortable with the like building in nuances for it. And I know kind of what would make sense. If I break this rule here, I kind of have a implicit understanding of how that would affect the rest of the structure, if you will. So like if you put in a caste system where they really didn't have like a strict caste system, how would that roll up or down in that type of society? I kind of have played around with that idea quite a bit. And because that's really the history that I'm comfortable with, that's where I kind of default to. That being said, I mean, I definitely don't hesitate to borrow from other cultures. Like I think that's where you kind of get some really cool like uniqueness, because once you get to a certain point too, the point of fantasy is to kind of branch out of the historical lesson. That's where some of the fun is. But I definitely gravitate more towards the historic, like the mid-European, Northern European medieval periods, as far as my personal comfort level.
I can definitely see that. I don't know if I've ever played a game that had, because you talk about designing these NPCs and you design whatever kind of flavor you have, but so often the ones that I've ever been exposed to, they don't necessarily have this grand like context that they're in, this grand cultural thing. It's more of, this is us in a costume. It's us. It's literally our modern day things. Like the groups that I've been in have not been able to disassociate enough to really design their world to be something beyond what they are.
Yeah. I mean, and I think that's also, that might tag into the difference between a PC and an NPC, because I definitely see that more with PCs. Like player characters definitely tend to be, especially if you're in-person tabletop, that definitely seems to be the case. Whereas NPCs, like, I don't know, like for me, NPCs are so much easier to throw into specific like odd like archetypes, because they're by their very nature they are not you. Like it's when you play an NPC, it's not designed to be your character. Like it's not really your character. Right. Whereas with a PC, or a player character, like that is your character, and that's the only character you have. So you have like a lot more. I don't want to say investment, because that makes it sound like you don't have investment as a DM in your NPCs, and that's not necessarily true. Mm-hmm. But you have focused? A lot more. Yeah, focus. Like you're not so laser focused with tunnel vision on that character. So like nuances that a PC would have, like like what you're saying, Green, they don't have the maybe the cultural acumen that an NPC would have, is because that character is that character consistently. Whereas an NPC, it's really easy to give them a sense of acumen because they're only in the game for, max maybe an hour, right. Spread out over a camp. I mean, depending on how heavy of an NPC it is, it could be more, but like average, your NPCs are usually, as far as like a tabletop game, your NPCs are usually just, if they even have a speaking role, it's, kind of like a push A to talk to, get information, or to further the story. So they're there for a purpose, and that purpose kind of right. encourages that acumen to be present.
So how many, if I'm thinking from like from a movie perspective, right? So you have your main characters who would be your player characters if we were turning a movie into like a D&D game. Then you have your people in the background. You have your fillers, right? Those are the NPCs that have very, very low level of design built into him. Like there's a very, very basic, he's 5'10", has a strong jaw, sells tomatoes. Like that's maybe all that you really have on that guy, and he's getting a beer. Like that's all you get. And then you have your mid-level where they interact more with the PC characters or player characters, and then you have like your big villains who are going to be these overarching characters. How do you design those guys, the ones who are going to be maybe returning villains or returning anti-heroes? And maybe not an really anti-hero, antagonist. There we go.
For me, I'll be honest, I don't until I know that it's going to be worth it, because I put a lot of effort into them. So I don't, like, just to prevent myself from getting frustrated, because like I've had a lot of times where it's like, okay, that's the big bad, and it's not the big bad because of, whatever the party decided. They actually ended up pissing off another person and, inadvertently ignored this one, they turned right instead of going left, like they were, quote, supposed to. So I usually wait to see especially if I'm running a game, I wait to see where the party is headed. And like after a while with a group, you kind of have like a good sense of, okay, they're going to probably go this direction. I mean, they'll surprise you, but like there's usually a pretty good sense of they're going to go X, they're going to do X, Y, Z. And so you can start kind of building more grandiose plans at that point. But, definitely at the beginning, like, no, I will I will create an archvillain for an antagonist, for the group, definitely. But it's usually a hodgepodge one at the very beginning, because I'm like, I don't know what you guys are going to do, as much as I hope that you're going to go do this, that we have no guarantee. Morgan, I don't know if you have a different approach or what your philosophy there is.
Not really, because at the beginning, you're just trying to establish who they are and trying to figure out how they fit into this wackadoodle story of life. I mean, ideas you might have brewing in the background of what could happen, but of course you got to leave yourself open to the possibilities that things change. People go off the rails. They will take your plot, crumple it up, and try to Kobe it into a basket. And yeah, it just, flexible with what you design, because if you get stuck like, oh, this is the big bad, this is what's going to happen, and they're going to meet them here and all that. I mean, you can have that person, yeah, but don't expect them to see it whenever you want to see it. Like,
right.
And, I mean, like, you can shelve it for later for sure, and just like save them for like whenever you need them. And like, aha, now's the time to bring them out.
I was gonna say, yeah, I have done that before, or the other thing I'll do is I have an archetype, and so like I have like specific like items or specific, you know, motivations or something like that, just kind of floating, and it just hasn't been assigned to an NPC until I figure out which NPC they're going to go after. Okay. And then that NPC, you know, gets built out basically. But so like I have an archetype of like, no, this is the, you know, he's a warlock or a wizard or, you know, whatever. Because I mean, like the example you were talking about with like the mid-level NPCs. I mean, most NPCs, if I put a lot of effort into them, they're all going to be mid-level, to be honest. And then as soon as whatever it is that checks the box, that's like, oh, this is a person we really, you know, like, or this is a person that I mean, I've had parties who get pissed off about the weirdest things, and they like got mad at a character because, you know, a perceived slight or whatever, and instead of, you know, just kind of, I don't know, instead of just dismissing it almost, I kind of was like, oh, okay, let's go with this. Let's pull this thread and let's make this, you know, let's make this actually personal. You know, this is a character that you really didn't like for, you know, X or whatever. And let's make it more interesting. Let's make this the character that is actually, you know, in the background manipulating things, and it also gives the players, you know, that sense of, aha, I knew something was off. You know, it gives them a sense of
called it.
Yeah, like the whole thing, the illusion of it at least. So no, yeah, go for it.
Talking about the wizard I discussed earlier, some of them were very hesitant about her, like, oh, I don't know, should we trust her? And they're like, oh, yeah, she's going to help us. Why shouldn't we trust her? And they're like, And then whenever she betrayed them, they're like, aha, you.
And it goes the other way, too. Because I've had games. One of the games I've actually kind of recently started playing, or I played a little bit. We had a character who was supposed to be the big bad, and through some like random, I don't even remember how it all went down, but they actually redeemed her, and she actually became an ally, because they were able to. It was basically, you weren't supposed to be able to do, like, you weren't supposed to get involved because she was supposed to be a background character, and then she was supposed to build into like an MP. We were doing like a one-shot campaign thing, and I can't remember which player did it, but basically the one little, you know, brushing shoulders moment, they were like, oh, hey, well, and they actually started a conversation with the character, and they actually gained her trust before she had this bad twist. And so when this bad event happened, instead of doing the whole dark thing, it would make no sense for that character, you know, to do that. And so it was like, it opened the door to them actually saving a character, which was really cool. Because, you know, it's not just always, you know, these guys are evil, blah, blah, blah. Sometimes what's even more fun is them coming up against the big bad and then being like, hey, wait, I know you. Like, you know, and it's like, and they can, and especially with especially with games where you encourage like the role-playing aspect, that's a really good opportunity to be like, hey, if you can roll with the punches enough to actually role play your way out of this, I'm definitely going to let you do it. Like, I definitely encourage, when I play or when I run games, I definitely, you know, will encourage people to role play their way out of a situation instead of fight, because it's just so much more interesting. And it also, again, it creates that investment, if you will, of the character or of the player.
How much of, when you're judging a role play, this is more of a mechanical question as far as interaction with the NPC. When you're judging that interaction, how much are you, like, there's always that, like, toe the line of, they rolled this, what difficulty level am I going to put this at? Like, am I going to let this work? Or how do you make those judgment calls in those moments?
Gut. Like your gut.
I think you're just like, all right, so this character, she's looking for people to go with her to like do this thing. She's gonna be trustworthy. People who insight her will have an easier insight than like, group 2. She's a naive person. She's gonna be deceived easily. Like, just like various like on the whim. You have to think about these things like on the whim. Like, okay, cool. Hold on one second. Who's this character? What is her motive, or what is their motive? And see. Okay, cool. All right, cool. You rolled a 15 on your insight. Sure.
Yeah, and I was going to say, like, that's definitely where D&D is nice to have, too, because D&D kind of sets a standard of, like, those split, like, air quotes, split minute calls from a DM standpoint.
Yeah.
It is nice. It is nice to have those. It's actually one of the things I say a lot is I understand people not liking D&D because I get it. It's a steep learning curve, but I've been in enough role-playing games that inevitably there is a fight that breaks out sometime. And D&D, for all its failings, I will tell you that D&D has a really... I personally really like the fight mechanics of D&D because
it's definitely better than some other games.
Yeah, I guess... To be honest,
D20 systems are just interesting.
A D20 system and it can get convoluted, of course. Like a D6 system is really, really basic. It just depends on that. But D&D, I have always found D&D to be a very good equalizer in regards to, if you have a situation where you need an impartial judge, D&D makes it very easy to be like, okay, well, the dice says the DC's X,
Right.
That being said, I'm a really big fan of like just using it as like the spirit of the law, if you will. I'm like, the DC is supposed to be 20, but this person and the last interaction you had with them was really good. If it was a merchant, you gave them a deal or, vice, whatever. So we're going to fudge that a little bit and give you a DC of like 13, it depending on how that went, or DC of 7, lower or raise it. And then also the other nice thing is if you have a group that's comfortable with each other is actually having the actual exchange. Like, you roll a 10 or you roll a 5. I mean, okay, so you kind of stumble on your words. But if then they turn around and they're like, no, blah, blah, and they actually, present, like put it out there, or they whatever, could stay in character and they actually manage in character to redeem it. I'm like, I'll give that to them. That's just me though.
Yeah, if they can roll play themselves out of the shallow grave they just dug themselves into, then I will give it to them.
Sometimes I'll even give them extra if they get themselves in a bind, and then they if a character can role play in character out of it, like just using the wit, and it's completely believable in character. I'm like, man, I'll even have like usually an NPC like acknowledge, you were on the wrong path there for a second and you redeemed it. But
do you ever create NPC specifically to not necessarily bother, like you don't want your player characters to have bad experiences, but like if a player character has a specific phobia or fear, do you ever create NPCs to poke at them a little bit, not necessarily in a mean way, just to...
I do it because...
Real quick, is it the character that has the issues or the player that has the issues?
It would be the character. So like if the character... not a trigger, not trying to trigger the person, but say the character has... The character itself has a fear of halflings or has a fear of a certain race or whatnot. It's their character prejudice, not the player prejudice.
Then I definitely would, because racism...
I think that's
kind
just
of our
discourse
in general
DM.
with D&D is that like there's equal... I can go into like another discourse of racism within D&D and the Tolkienisms of the design, but we're not going there today. So,
that's a slippery slope.
Right?
I've been dealing with it a lot.
But, my God.
Yeah, but I would definitely would, just because it's still part of that world. I mean, just because it's hateful against these certain, races doesn't mean that these people are not going to exist in this world.
Has that ever backfired on you?
No, because I don't allow it to.
Gotcha.
I would say the other one that I really like doing is usually what I'll do is I'll give players, I'll give them bonuses if they take like flaws, which is kind of a concept that is especially prevalent in White Wolf.
Yep.
Yeah, like flaws are huge, but because the entire point of it is it's something that you should try to overcome. Like that's
a good balance.
Oh my gosh, it's so good. It makes your character so much easier actually to role play.
I like it because it actually makes them more like they're
realistic.
They're 3D. They're not going to be like, I'm a hero. I could do all these things. Look at me play my lute.
It's the difference between a Marvel character and a DC character.
Mm-hmm. I mean, and so like with that sense, when I have the players do that, we also like, if I can, I'll sit down and I'll like chat with them about it. Like, hey, you have this particular dislike of, or not even necessarily a dislike, a fear, even a phobia of something. And it's like, is that something that the character is going to try to overcome? Because then the other thing is if they overcome the phobia, I don't take away the bonus. So then what happens is in the end, if they can actually overcome that challenge, and I don't make it easy, but I mean, if they overcome the challenge of whatever phobia or whatever flaw they have chosen, they then not only get to keep the bonus that they got because they took the flaw, but then they don't have the negative effect of the flaw. So in the end, their character is actually more powerful. And I've always found that that's actually a really, like, people have a lot of fun with that. Because it encourages them to actually open the channel being like, oh, wait, this could actually be, a situation where the character actually has growth. It's not just it kind of helps encourage not just being a hack and slash, which gets really boring really fast.
Yeah. Blue, I'm running low on questions, so I'm like trying. Well, and
I guess no. I guess the thing is like, we've talked a lot about like mechanical systems and stuff like that, and Morgan, right. I don't know, do you have a lot of familiarity with like a more, not really, I mean they're collaborative a bit, but in the sense of like writing a story, like do you have any thoughts on like some good strategies or good approaches maybe to creating not primary characters but secondary characters within a story or even fan fiction? I guess that technically fits the bill too.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't done much writing since my high school fanfic years. So
we'll forgive you.
What? I didn't say anything.
Oh, honey, we all have that account.
I think just in general, like you would make a character that you'll make a character who's there and like various off the cuff, because with stories you kind of want to plan out your beginning, middle, and end, unless it's like an ongoing fanfic that you never finish because you decide if you forget your password one day to live journal and that, but you with the difference between storytelling, like writing a story versus role playing, is that you have control of the story, the narrative, and all that jazz. But with the role playing games themselves, you just have PCs. You don't have really control of the direction the story goes itself.
Mm-hmm.
So I think with writing a short story, you actually have the ability to like, the NPC that I want them run into, but eventually I wanted this to be like this person's lover, or like, I want this person to like be betrayed and become their enemy that they're going to face at the end, and like make those plot points and like make those streams and have a conspiracy theory board of like character connections and like where they're going within the story itself.
Mm-hmm.
With whenever you're playing a game and running it, you can't really do that until after that session. You're like, all right, cool. How is this person interacting now? Which way can they go? Do they even matter currently? We'll figure it out later in a minute. Just put a sticky note saying it with a question mark on it.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of penciling in on games because like I always joke, it's like the DM has to be on call like during the game, but the actual work comes after, because then you have to take all the disparate pieces and be like, oh, okay, this is how they all connect.
You're like, all right, time to make this puzzle.
Yeah, time to make this story work.
Oh, no, okay, well, I'll save this piece for later. Or maybe I'll go to like another piece. Where did this piece come? I don't remember this piece. Okay, well, oh, it's cool. Yeah.
When you're reviewing those sessions, when you're coming in, especially in D&D, like you said, it's a little easier in some ways because, well, easier and harder. It's easier to write a collaborative story in so much as that everybody is continuing to work together, so the creativity is coming from multiple brains, which is nice, but it can also be, I would imagine, a bit harder it's harder to control the story, but it's easier to control the flavor of the story, I guess, or not control it, but have unique flavor to the story depending on the players that you have involved. Mm-hmm. I guess my question is more of, with that in mind, is it almost, do you ever consider bringing on somebody else to flesh out the NPCs in a story like that you're writing rather than playing? Do you bring in another person's perspective to help flesh out these characters or come up with ideas for it? Or do you even hash out ideas? Do the ideas just come straight to mind and you end up just playing through the scene in your mind as you're writing it?
I would definitely, I like talking to people about things. I like talking through certain aspects. That's how I am. Like, if I can, just throw my word vomit at you, hopefully you can pull something from it and like piece it together and help me be like, this is what you wanted. You just said all the things, but you said them out of order and like in a direction that you did not want. I was like, oh, cool, thanks. So I like soundboards a lot whenever I'm talking about character design. Like, when I was running at Vigilante, it was nice to have other DMs there, other dungeon masters there, that I could be like, all right, I'm stuck. I don't know what to do. Like, or like, I have this person and they're like, you know what? You could probably use them for this. I'm like, yes, do. Okay, thanks. So it's good to just have people to talk to that aren't, I mean, you can talk to your players, yes, if you want to, like, have them help out with. I also like using them for like generic well. Like I like them being like, oh yeah, name 2 people that within town that's just by important, just, and they'll be like, okay, Ted the tomato farmer, and like
Ted is getting a lot of airtime.
You know what? Ted deserves it.
We're sponsored by Ted.
Sponsored by farmers.
Sponsored by farmers.
We
Farmers
are
for America.
Farmers. Is it farmersingles.com?
Yes, farmers only.
Farmers only, that's right.
Yeah, okay, so full disclosure, I come, being from Kansas, I am from a family of farmers, and both my brothers are farmers. I have a brother who has used that. It is hilarious. It's hilarious to talk to him about it. But
like, so how's the farming life going?
How's farmers only? How's the choices? Little slim pickings? You should move to Iowa. No, I love my brother. I don't tell him he should move to Iowa. I do tell him he should move out of my father's house, though.
Shake through.
A little bit. Anyway.
Yeah, you sometimes it's good to have people that you can bounce ideas off of, but also good if your players, let's say like they made some NPCs in the town, like, you had a session 0 and they named a couple people. I'm like, all right, cool. You can always go back to them later and be like, hey, so-and-so, what are they like? Like, tell me a little bit about their life. So you can actually inconspicuously like pull more ideas from them and then eventually maybe make them another plot point of some sort.
Okay. Ted is looking for love in all the wrong places. How do you help Ted the tomato farmer find his first wife? I guess? I don't know. Question mark?
Where are we going with this?
I don't know. I love just spitballing ideas with people. Like, I have not played a formalized D&D game or anything like that. I've done a lot more play by post and more of just like role play. And there are a few NPC characters that we bring into the conversations because we're playing DM as well as player characters at the same time while we're doing this. So we're also pulling in other characters to help with the story. It can become convoluted if the players are not experienced. Is there any way that you keep like a journal for it? What is your method for keeping all the different NPCs straight, or if they're even going to matter after the one session that they show up in?
I try to at least write their name down and like a generic who they is, because
NPC
like,
cards.
Oh yeah, we want to go talk back to Regina. I'm like, who's Regina? And like, oh, remember 5 months ago we ran into her.
The
I'm like,
super special
what?
lady that you spent 30 seconds putting together.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm like, oh shoot, hold on. I'm like, Dinner with Schmucks, the Gallic Naxx's like characters with all the like the numbers like rotating around his brain, just like calculating. I'm like, oh no, oh, where is she? What has she been doing? How is life for her? What is life for her?
It feels like you've ignored like a family member for a while at that point, don't you think? It's just like, oh crap, what have they been doing with themselves?
Catch up on Facebook quick.
Right? That's actually a good way to look at it, though. Sorry.
That's what I use. I use NPC cards actually, like just like
write them down NPC like an index card, and you just stick it off the side.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, it's like it's basically the equivalent of like a Post-it note, because then it's like it also the little lined index cards are nice, because then if something does happen, you can like write a quick little like blurb and be like, yeah, this happened. And then, when inevitably someone does come back and be like, well, what about Tom? What happened about that? And it's like, I don't even know who you're talking about. But then, you go back through and you're going to have, oh, okay, you stole 5 gold pieces from this farmer and he's pissed as hell at you. Like, because,
oh, that guy,
it's like, yeah, I've always found that to be a little bit easier to do.
It helps direct encounters
Ted's
too.
rival.
Oh gosh.
Is Tom the potato farmer?
I don't know. We'll have to collaborate with chat on that one.
Right.
All right, chat, let us know what Tom does for his living and who he is and what his biggest wish is for life.
We are getting a full-fledged world here. We've got a city with the bartender.
By the end of the chat, we're going to have a Hamlet of our own.
Was it a bartender? What was his name? Bob? Is that what you call him?
Bob, yeah.
Bob the bartender. Regina, who has got some stuff going on with her.
She's super
Ted,
secretive.
The tomato farmer, and Tom, his rival. We're gonna have a full...
No, Tom is the tomato farmer. Ted's his rival, who's I don't think we've gotten confirmation on his profession just yet.
He is now.
He is now. Okay, I don't know what that is. Infested Potato has confirmed that he is now a potato farmer, and who better to know than an infested potato?
Tom farms potatoes, Ted farms tomatoes.
Ah, okay. Thanks, Josh.
We'll get that cleared up
at some point.
And they're right across the quote unquote road from each other.
Oh, the plot thickens.
Oh gosh, that reminds me of a game I played. It's called I don't remember what it's called, but it's basically about like Nordic lifestyles, and it's basically like a soap opera, but from Nordic lifestyles. Oh no! So basically,
weird.
Yeah, so basically, you play like the husband or the wife or the neighbor or like shaman or whatever, and you deal with this drama that you have within your tiny little village. And it's progressive, so you can actually add more, and the story can progress, and you can change characters and stuff. But I played one guy who was basically a bachelor who lived with his sister. Basically they had a fight about the fences and so and the sheep, because they thought that he was stealing her sheep, and I was like, no, that's not me. You let out your own sheep. Oh,
the games we create.
Yeah, it was great.
Chat is, by the way, dividing into Team Tom and Team Ted at this point.
I think everybody's Team Tom right now.
But Ted's just working. He's just working, making those tomatoes, selling them, trying to can them without causing botulism. It's just such a rough life.
The McCoys and who? Tom.
It's actually the Hatfields, but yes. I actually played a D&D game where we came into this town and the town was divided. It was very a la Ask Claus, if you all seen the Netflix movie.
Yeah. Awesome movie.
Divided. It's really cute. I really enjoyed it. And the town's divided and they're just fighting each other and they're like, you have to pick one side or the other. They're like, we're just gonna go to the mayor's office who's completely neutral and just hang out there.
We're just gonna go to this point.
We're just gonna ignore all of this and go past it.
It was,
but that's like sometimes that's the fun in creating like those NPCs is like creating like the tension, like the uncomfortable tension of being like, because like that's the other thing is like a lot of times what we would do is have people walk into a town and there'd be like a lynching in like something that's like obviously very wrong, but the vast majority of people are doing it. And it's like you put the characters in this position of being like, do we stand up for what is right, or do we, just not rock the boat? And it sometimes will create some really cool disagreements within a player party. It's like, no, we don't need to draw attention to ourselves. Yeah, but that's not right. Usually it's the paladin that gets all bent out of shape. Just sure. That's also that's that's also just me. I like teasing paladins.
Which is amusing, but you play a rogue.
I do play a rogue. Like, yeah, I do play a rogue. Or a monk. But, they're the same thing. They're skill monkeys.
They're very fast. They're fast. They're fast ones.
Fast or sneaky.
I've been playing a lot of clerics lately, so
clerics can be interesting. Yeah, clerics can be. They have 5
clerics, and they're all different sort of domains.
Oh, God. Why do you do that to yourself?
Because I can. I know cleric designs really well now.
Yeah, I bet. Jesus.
Ted is definitely the paladin.
Oh.
I keep thinking I just finished up Schitt's Creek, and I'm just like every time I hear Ted, I'm like, oh, Ted.
Right? That's actually a show I know. Julie watches that show.
So I had people tell me for a while to watch it, and I was like, okay, cool. And I finally watched it. I was like, yes, I see why. This is delightful. Mm-hmm.
It is kind of fun. Gosh. Okay, so that actually brought up a good point, though. Do you make your NPCs have archetypes like the player characters do? Like if Ted was actually a paladin type personality, obviously you wouldn't necessarily give them that unless they're
unless you want to have fun,
right? I don't know. Like how do you handle that?
NPCs with character archetypes are dangerous.
Are they?
I've done it on occasion. Yeah,
they can be.
Like, for example, if it's someone like that's leading them somewhere, like I make a ranger character.
Yeah, usually like a city, like the city guard leader will have like at least what is it, the common soldier or common soldier class or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm. Fighter class,
or
basically.
No, it's not. I mean, it's not a fighter. It's like it's basically the NPC equivalent of it. Because like what it is like, at least in D&D, they are basically designed as like really basic cookie cutters, so you can throw one together really quick for like your NPCs.
That makes it super simple. But like for example, like I have for one of the things I had, like my characters need to go out into the middle of the desert to find like these old ancient ruins. The reason how they got there was this one woman who was taught by her dads to be a like an Indiana Jones sort of character, where like I'm gonna go raid tombs and get relics and sell them and stuff like that, taking over that realm. And so she's like, all right, I need people to go with me because I heard it's dangerous.
Right.
Oh, look, adventurers.
Oh, look, adventurers. I have gold.
Come with me, and I have money.
Oh, so do you actually have them fight alongside your player characters ever? Like, do you ever have your NPCs use special abilities, and if so, how do you make sure that those NPCs don't end up stealing the show?
I mean, I just try to make them as generic as possible. I'm not going to make like a Gloomstalker Ranger who has like a falcon that glistens in the sun, sort of. Like, I don't like, if you have a player character that like is like who they are, this NPC that would be like fighting with them It's
Mhm.
it's kind of like that player character, but like the saturation and like hue is just turned down a bit.
Okay.
It's like, yeah, they are there, and like I actually make a character sheet for them on occasion, like because I need their stats and whatnot. But I will just like try not to. They'll be part of the story and like be there, but like I want to let the players do a lot of the talking because honestly, I don't want to talk to myself in two different voices at once.
Right.
And then like do like the whole like back and forth thing in my chair.
I mean,
do you have to do the head motion
it can
too?
be fun. It could be fun to watch. It's fun for your player characters to watch that. Like,
but I rather them like ask the questions and be part of the narrative than watching me put on a one-person show.
Right. What are you doing today? I don't know. What are you doing today? Tom, I'm telling you, you got to get rid of those potatoes. They're taking up too much of the area.
I swear, Tom, if you turn around one more time with those damn potatoes. Well, I must say, good Sir Ted, I must say.
Good sir, do you not realize that my tomatoes are served at the... Never mind.
Pretty much.
Vampire Tom.
Oh, gosh. Josh will, actually, speaking of vampires, attest to this. We're playing Strahd right now with Josh, and Strahd now sounds like Vampire Bill from True Blood.
Oh, no.
No.
Oh, no.
Because our dungeon master passed out letters to us, and I was like, I was the first one to read, and I don't know why that voice came to me, and I was like, my cleric, you will see the light one day too. And I just went into that voice, and it just sprung off, and it stuck.
Yes, I love those moments. Those accidental, you design the character, and it totally takes on a totally different feel in that.
Like, it's supposed to be Strahd, like, the big, strong, powerful vampire. Right. I was like, yeah, he sounds like Vampire Bill now. You're welcome. Like,
you're welcome.
You're welcome. I added more to the story about this character for you.
You didn't even have to pay me for it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what I like too. Is like whenever players are able to like add like more things and like, oh yeah, oh gosh, Ted. I met Ted once. He owes me money. That jerk. Like
Yeah, I love those. It's just like, gosh.
Yeah. You met Ted before. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and he's that completely oblivious that he needs to owe you anything.
Ted just walked out of the poker game last weekend, took all his winnings, and just said, F you guys, I'm going to the club. Because what you don't know is that Ted also has a secret life outside. I saw
Ted,
him.
what do you do?
Right?
Potatoes over tomatoes is now current.
Hashtag Tom for life.
Oh, no.
Oh, man.
Hashtag fries over pies, I guess.
Wait, tomatoes aren't pies? Or is there a tomato pie?
They could be. There probably is.
So you probably
Depends.
could.
Is there a bard among us?
Can somebody sing that into existence? Is that what you're saying?
No, bards are the ones. Have you not seen that joke about the D&D classes explain tomatoes?
Oh no, I have not.
I've heard of that. Yeah.
Yeah. So like, it's like the wizard's the one that's like, tomatoes are fruits, and basically it goes on like goes all the way down, and then at the very end, the bard's the one that like it's something about like I'm trying to remember which one is. They know it's a fruit, but they don't put it in a fruit salad. And then it's like the bard is the one that takes the fruit salad made with tomato and convinces everybody that it's salsa.
Yes.
It's like, I'm like, you're not wrong.
No, they're not. Oh, gosh. I've always wanted to play a bard, but I know that people would frickin' hate me if I did.
Bard, it depends. Like, you have basically two. It's like a paladin. No, it's not even paladin because I just hate paladins in general. But like bards are like they're like you either have a person who does a good job playing a bard, or you have the person who really hams it up and just annoys everybody.
I mean, I think bards are meant to be a little annoying anyway.
Oh, they are. But I mean, like, there's a. It's like the oh god, what is it? Dandelion from Witcher. Like,
yes.
There's a line where it's like it's endearing and then it's just annoying.
Mm-hmm.
You are a pie with no filling. Josh has, of course, a different opinion.
Bards are the glue that holds the campaign together. Oh my god, how? How?
I mean, morale boost, bardic inspiration, they're very good support characters.
Druids are the ones that know not to use it in a fruit salad. Toss a coin to your witcher.
No, I just got that song out of my... Josh, no. Not happy.
Said fries over salsa.
Salsa is amazing.
Bard power. Again, he's not wrong.
No.
Oh man.
I actually enjoy playing bards. I played a bard sorcerer like multiclasser.
Oh
Nice.
yeah.
Who basically used like her sorcerer innate sorcerer powers to like cast magics and like add to her shows. So
Ooh.
fun. Yeah. And then she got reincarnated from a half elf to a dwarf because she got turned to stone and ran in by Minotaur. But you know what? Things happen.
I bet she was super happy about that.
It's like, you know what? I'm going to own this. Look at me. I'm sexy. Look at my short little stubby legs.
Oh my gosh. I mean...
She's like, I'm going to own this.
Of course, a bard. Of course. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh. Well, what do you think, Blue?
I think that's an excellent...
I think we're in a good spot.
I think that's an excellent stopping point, talking about a dwarf's sexy short little legs.
A reincarnation
A dwarf. That, oh my god.
Love yourself, and that's what you did.
Yeah. Body positive right there.
Right?
Pause, yeah.
Live with what you have.
This is the body I was born into, but like I will love it anyways.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Transvisibility Day. I appreciate it. That is amazing.
Oh, I didn't mean to go off that route, but okay, yeah.
Hey.
Oh, so
It works.
What shout outs do you have?
Okay. So my name is Serena. I go by SirenaBesos on Twitter, Instagram, and Discord. It's SirenaBesos. You can find me on the Roleplay Network, where I am one of 3 hosts and the game master for Powered by the Players, which is basically just a series of Powered by Apocalypse one-shot and mini campaign games with a rotating diverse cast. Roleplay Network, I'm a part of the Red Death campaign, which is a D&D 5e game, but with the Red Death rules. So we're playing 1890s Boston.
Ooh.
So That's
cool.
I play a cleric there, but I'm a curandera from South Texas. So basically, I'm a Mexican folk healer.
That's cool. I like it.
You can also find me on some streams like Victory Condition Gaming on YouTube or Twitch, here on Twitch with Welcome to the Party. I do stuff. I do a lot of stuff. I like games.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
I like it.
But I really appreciate y'all having me on. Thank you so much for the invite.
Yeah, no, definitely.
And a shout out, I'm going to do it just kind of a shout out to you and to our hopefully return of you next month when we talk about what's the second set of topics that we've kind of talked NPCs and populating. You haven't decided yet?
Okay, I have decided. I don't have it in front of me right now.
Gotcha.
I don't do spontaneity.
That's right.
We have established this.
You would make a really bad bard.
That's why I don't play bards. I don't approach a bard class at all.
I feel like you'd be best with a wizard. Like,
I'm not a fan of wizards. Which is actually probably why. Well, yeah, I avoid the magic systems. Actually, I'm like, that's way too much work to have fun.
A lot, yeah.
Like, I can have just as much fun messing things up as a monk, and I get all the magic stuff I need.
Yeah, that's very true.
Or rogue, because the rogues have used magic device. It's like, yeah, I get all the benefits and none of the negatives. So, hey. What's this prepare spell thing? Like, what is this nonsense that you have to do?
I have to have spell slots? What is this?
Yeah, what is it? I just use a wand. That works. Sorry, Greg.
No, you're good. That was just my shout out, was just the fact that we will likely have Miss Morgan, if she so chooses, back on next next month and possibly wrangle Josh in as well. We'll see.
Yeah,
Josh, calling you out.
Yes.
Josh has already got a bit of a lineup of his own of shows that he wants to have episodes on.
Yay!
I think he just messaged me right before he just finished Picard, and so he wants to talk about. I can't remember exactly what he wants to talk about, but he was very excited about it, as Josh does get. But I think what we're actually going to do after we get done with the game, like the next one is the last one that I had for the Game World one. And then I think what I did was I promised Mochi Llama and Josh a chance to get on and hash out their Voltron thoughts. So, fair warning. Okay. That's going to be a fun one.
It's a debate.
Picard and phenomenology.
We get to host a debate. I'm excited about
I don't know
this.
if it's... Well, no, maybe it wasn't Voltron. Josh, correct me here. It was either Voltron or Avatar: The Last Airbender. I can't remember. I think it was Voltron, but I know... Oh, it was Avatar. Okay, he's correcting me. It was Avatar. Okay. But they also have watched Voltron, and they want to talk about that. So it's one of those... Yes.
I'm excited for this. This is going to be fun.
And Katie, or Mochi Laba, is very well versed on... I want to say she's pretty well versed on Avatar, but I know she is very well versed on Voltron, because she's the one that has written a couple of articles on Voltron for the Lore Network.
Wow, that's awesome.
But yeah, Morgan, thank you so much. We will have all the links up on our show notes when we put them up on Friday of next week. And yeah, so as always, thank you for your time. And until next time, remember, with wisdom we conquer, stand strong, stand tall, and keep exploring.
Bye.
Bye.
With that, we'll begin to wrap the chat up. Thank you again to those over on Twitch for coming to spend your evening with us. If you'd like to join us for the live streaming of the episodes, please be sure to give us a follow over on twitch.tv/FocusedFireChat. Links to all our episode archives can be found at www.thelorenetwork.com. Please be sure to email us at focusedfirechat@gmail.com with any comments and or questions for the team concerning the podcast, and let us know how we're doing by giving us some feedback and a rating over on iTunes as well. So until next time, focus your fire and may your light shine bright.